Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1, the 1988 United States of America 1-cent coin, a piece that has captured the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters across the globe, and one that has, in rare instances, been valued at a staggering $28 million. To truly appreciate the 1988 1-cent coin, we need to travel back in time, long before 1988, to understand the story of the American penny. The penny's history stretches back over 2 centuries, with its roots tied deeply to the birth of the United States itself. The very first 1-cent coin was struck in 1793, carrying with it the ideals of liberty and the promise of a young nation. Over the decades, its design evolved, representing the changing identity of America, from flowing hair representations of Lady Liberty to the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, which has been a constant since 1909. By 1988, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most recognizable coins in the world, carrying with it not only monetary function but cultural significance. The year 1988 marked another chapter in this journey. At first glance, the coin seems ordinary. On the obverse, or the front, you see the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. His portrait, gazing solemnly to the right, represents leadership, sacrifice, and unity. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," stand proudly, while to his left appears the simple but powerful word, "Liberty." To the right, the date 1988 is stamped, anchoring the coin in history. Depending on where it was minted, you might also notice a small mint mark under the date, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. Each tiny detail of the coin's front tells part of a story, carefully preserved in copper-plated zinc. On the reverse side of the 1988 cent, we find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. At first glance, it may seem simple, a representation of a famous monument, but if you look closely, an extraordinary detail appears. Within the columns of the memorial, just faintly, you can see the tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln seated inside, mirroring the real-life structure in Washington, D.C. This remarkable detail, so small and intricate, reveals the precision and dedication of the engravers and designers who crafted it. Above the memorial, the phrase, "United States of America," reminds us of the coin's nation of origin, while just below it, the words, "E pluribus unum," meaning, out of many, one, emphasize the unity of the states. At the bottom rests the denomination, 1 cent, the coin's face value. The 1988 penny may look ordinary, but hidden in its history are extraordinary stories. By this time, the composition of the penny had changed significantly. For over a century, pennies were mostly made of copper, but rising copper prices in the 1970s forced the U.S. Mint to experiment with new materials. By 1982, the penny was transformed into a copper-plated zinc coin, with only a thin outer layer of copper. This change meant that the 1988 penny was mostly zinc inside, with just enough copper on the outside to retain its familiar appearance. Collectors often pay close attention to this detail, because errors in minting during this period created some of the most valuable pennies in history. Minting errors are what make some 1988 pennies so incredibly valuable. Imagine a machine striking millions of coins every day, each one meant to be identical. But once in a while, something unusual happens: a die is mismatched, a double strike occurs, or a design element is misplaced. These accidents create unique coins, and collectors love uniqueness. In the case of the 1988 penny, one of the most famous varieties is the 1988 reverse of 1989 penny. This variety occurred because the mint accidentally used a reverse die meant for the following year, 1989, on some 1988 coins. The difference is subtle, visible mostly in the style of the letters in the word "America" on the reverse. But to collectors, this tiny variation transforms an ordinary 1-cent coin into a treasure worth thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands, depending on condition. But how could such a coin reach values beyond belief, like $28 million? This is where rarity, condition, demand, and historical intrigue collide. Imagine the thrill of discovering one of these rare varieties, perfectly preserved, untouched by time. Coin collectors, known as numismatists, often chase after coins in mint state condition, coins that look as though they were struck yesterday, with no scratches, no signs of circulation, and a brilliant shine. A 1988 penny with the wrong reverse die in flawless condition can command breathtaking prices at auction. Add in the fact that only a handful of such coins exist, and you have the recipe for astronomical value. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a coin dealer in an auction hall, the tension thick in the air. On the stage, under bright lights, lies a simple penny, encased in protective plastic, graded by experts as near perfect. Collectors from around the world have gathered, their paddles ready, their eyes locked on this coin. The bidding begins modestly, at a few $1,000s, but quickly escalates. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, the room buzzes with excitement. Soon, the bids climb into the millions. At last, with a thunderous final bid, the gavel falls, $28 million. Gasps ripple through the audience. A 1-cent coin has just sold for a price higher than luxury cars, mansions, or even small islands. For the average person, this may seem unreal, even absurd. How can a coin worth 1 cent be valued at $28 million? The answer lies in the world of collecting itself. Value is not always tied to function, but to rarity, desire, and story. A 1-cent coin can become priceless if it carries a tale of history, mystery, and near impossible survival. The 1988 penny is one such example. Most of the millions struck that year remain ordinary pocket change, but a tiny fraction holds secrets that elevate them into treasures. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history. They are holding a tangible piece of the past, something that connects them to the hands of mint workers, engravers, and even the legacy of Abraham Lincoln himself. The 1988 penny, especially its rare varieties, stands as a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the weight of history and the power to astonish the world. As we reflect on this coin, think about the pennies you might have overlooked. Perhaps in a jar in your home, hidden in the corner of a drawer, or jingling at the bottom of your pocket, lies a treasure waiting to be discovered. The next time you see a penny dated 1988, take a closer look. Inspect its details, study its reverse, and imagine the journey it has taken. Who knows? You might be holding one of the rarest coins in existence, a coin that could change your life forever. And now, after this journey through history, design, rarity, and collecting passion, comes the incredible truth that brings this story to its climax. The 1988 United States 1-cent coin, in its rarest and most pristine form, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $28 million. Yes, you heard that right. $28 million for a coin that most people would walk past without a second thought. This is the magic of numismatics, the power of rarity, and the extraordinary destiny of the 1988 penny. What began as a humble 1-cent piece has risen to become one of the most talked about treasures in coin collecting history. It teaches us that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes, the most ordinary objects can hold the most extraordinary worth. Top 2. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins ever produced by the United States Mint, the 1992 1-cent coin, more commonly known as the penny. At first glance, you might think there's nothing particularly special about a penny from 1992. After all, hundreds of millions were minted, and they still occasionally show up in pocket change today. But what if I told you that hidden among those everyday copper-plated zinc coins lies a piece of history so unique, so rare, and so valuable that it could turn an ordinary penny into a multimillion-dollar treasure? That's the incredible story of the 1992 1-cent. To understand the significance of the 1992 penny, we first have to step back in time and appreciate the long and rich history of the 1-cent coin in America. The penny was first struck in 1793, over 2 centuries ago, making it the longest-running denomination in United States history. It has gone through many transformations in design, size, weight, and composition, but one figure has remained iconic on the penny for more than a century: Abraham Lincoln. In 1909, to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, the United States Mint replaced the Indian head cent with the Lincoln cent, and that design has endured in various forms ever since. By 1992, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 83 years, and it had undergone one major transformation in 1959, when the reverse design changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial. This was to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. For over 3 decades, the Lincoln Memorial penny was a familiar sight to every American. Millions carried them in their pockets, spent them at corner stores, or dropped them into piggy banks. The 1992 penny might seem like just another year in that long-running series, but coin enthusiasts know there's more to the story. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse, or front side, of the coin, we see the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, the same artist who created the original Lincoln cent back in 1909. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln is one of the most enduring and beloved images in American coinage, a tribute to a president who guided the nation through one of its darkest hours. Above Lincoln's head is the word "Liberty," while to the right is the motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has been present on the penny for over a century. Below Lincoln, of course, is the date, 1992. Depending on where the coin was struck, you might also see a small mint mark, either a D for Denver or no mint mark at all, indicating it was struck in Philadelphia. On the reverse side, designed by Frank Gasparo, is the Lincoln Memorial. This design was first introduced in 1959 and stayed until 2008. At the top are the words "United States of America," just above the phrase "E pluribus unum," meaning "out of many, one." Below, in bold letters, is the denomination, 1 cent. If you look closely at the design, you can even see a tiny representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a small but impressive detail. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1992 penny so different from any other Lincoln Memorial cent? After all, hundreds of millions were struck. The answer lies in a fascinating detail known as the close AM variety. In 1992, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with new design modifications that would later be fully implemented in 1993. One of those changes involved the spacing of the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse. On standard 1992 pennies, the A and the M are spaced apart, creating what collectors call the wide AM. But in a rare few 1992 pennies, the letters A and M are so close together that they almost touch, hence the name, close AM. This tiny difference might seem insignificant to the casual observer, but to numismatists, those passionate about coins, it is a huge discovery. The close AM variety of the 1992 penny was never intended for circulation. It was an accidental crossover, a test striking that somehow made its way into circulation. Because of this, the 1992 close AM penny is considered one of the rarest Lincoln cent varieties of the modern era. Fewer than a handful have been verified by professional grading services, making it a coin of near mythical status among collectors. So, what happens when a coin is both incredibly rare and tied to such a small, overlooked denomination as the penny? It creates a buzz, an excitement that elevates it from everyday change to a collector's dream. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that millions of people overlooked, yet it turns out to be worth more than most people's homes. That is the allure of the 1992 close AM penny. For years, coin enthusiasts have hunted tirelessly for one, carefully examining their pocket change under magnifying glasses, hoping to stumble upon that one-in-a-billion treasure. Minting details also play a key role in this story. The 1992 pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, while those from Denver feature a small D. Both versions have their own close AM rarities, with the 1992 D close AM being even more elusive than its Philadelphia counterpart. The precision of minting in the early 1990s wasn't what it is today, so small anomalies like this could slip through unnoticed, only to be discovered years later by sharp-eyed collectors. Over time, as awareness of the 1992 close AM grew, so did its reputation and its value. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC began certifying these rare coins, further validating their status. The combination of rarity, historical intrigue, and collector demand pushed the 1992 close AM penny into the spotlight, where it has remained ever since. Stories spread of collectors paying astonishing sums to acquire one, fueling even more excitement in the coin collecting world, but beyond its rarity, the 1992 penny also tells us something deeper about value. In our everyday lives, we often overlook pennies. They're the coins people leave in tip jars, drop on the sidewalk without picking up, or toss into drawers and jars at home. Yet here is a penny that proves that even the smallest and most undervalued things can hold incredible worth. It's a reminder that history, rarity, and human fascination can turn an ordinary object into a priceless artifact that as collectors chased after the 1992 close AM, its value skyrocketed. Auction houses began to list these coins, and bidding wars erupted as passionate numismatists vied for the chance to own one. The prices rose into the tens of thousands, then into the hundreds of thousands. Each discovery of a new specimen made headlines, further driving up demand. And in today's collector's market, the most pristine, certified examples of the 1992 close AM penny are valued at astronomical sums, and now, for the part you've been waiting for, the big reveal. While most 1992 pennies are worth only face value, a single cent, the rare 1992 close AM variety has reached a value so extraordinary it almost defies belief. The finest known specimens of this coin are valued at an astonishing $27 million. Yes, you heard that right, $27 million for a penny. It's one of those jaw-dropping facts that makes you rethink the way you look at money and collectibles. Who would have imagined that a coin so small, so ordinary, could one day command such an extraordinary price? So the next time you come across a penny in your pocket change, don't just dismiss it as worthless. Take a moment to look closely. Examine the details. Check the spacing between the letters. You never know, you might just be holding onto a piece of history worth more than a lifetime's fortune. The story of the 1992 penny is proof that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to discover them. Top 3. Today, we embark on such a journey into the world of the United States of America 1-cent coin of 2008. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary penny, a small copper-plated coin that passes from hand to hand in everyday transactions. But as we peel back the layers, you'll come to see why this little coin stands as a symbol of heritage, artistry, and value, eventually reaching a jaw-dropping worth of $16 million. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. It feels light, unassuming, and almost insignificant in today's economy. Most people hardly notice it, tossing it into jars, drawers, or leaving it as change on a counter. But hidden within these coins lies an untold history, stories of craftsmanship, political shifts, minting decisions, and collector obsession. The 2008 1-cent coin represents the culmination of decades of design evolution and the threshold before one of the biggest transformations in modern U.S. coinage. The year 2008 was not just any year in American history. It was the final chapter before the great redesign of the Lincoln cent that would come in 2009, honoring the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln penny itself. For decades, since 1959, the reverse of the penny had featured the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., replacing the earlier wheat ears design that collectors still adore today. The 2008 penny marked the last full year that this classic Lincoln Memorial design would appear, closing an era that had lasted half a century. Collectors often describe it as the last breath of tradition before change. The obverse, or the front of the coin, carries the dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has graced the 1-cent coin since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Lincoln's face, etched with determination and resolve, symbolizes leadership during one of the darkest periods in the nation's past, the Civil War. On the obverse, above Lincoln's head, we see the familiar motto, "In God We Trust," an enduring expression of the nation's values. To his left, the word liberty reminds us of the principles he fought for, while the year 2008 is boldly displayed to his right. Beneath the date is the mint mark, revealing whether the coin was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Each mint mark adds its own layer of intrigue for collectors, because certain mints produce rarer variations that can elevate a coin's desirability, turning to the reverse, we encounter the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparro in 1959. This image depicts the grand monument with its classical columns and stately presence, framed with the inscriptions, United States of America, and E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. At the bottom rests the denomination, 1 cent, clear and bold. And here's a fascinating detail: if you look closely, you can actually see the tiny figure of Lincoln seated within the memorial, making it one of the few U.S. coins to feature the same individual on both sides. This clever artistic decision cemented the Lincoln Memorial Cent as one of the most iconic designs in coinage history. The 2008 penny was minted in vast numbers, with billions of examples struck for circulation. In Philadelphia and Denver, the mints churned out ordinary circulation strikes, while San Francisco produced proof coins for collectors. At first glance, one might think that such an abundant coin could never hold great value. After all, rarity often defines worth in the world of coins. But value is not always about rarity alone, it is about context, condition, historical significance, and demand. The 2008 penny carries all of these elements. Collectors consider 2008 pennies special because they were the end of an era. Beginning in 2009, the United States Mint released 4 different reverse designs depicting scenes from Lincoln's life, and later, the Union Shield reverse became the new permanent design. Thus, the 2008 penny represents the very last of the Lincoln Memorial cents, making it a transitional year that marks both closure and anticipation. Transitional years in coinage often spark heightened interest, and over time, they tend to become prized possessions for serious collectors. Another reason the 2008 penny draws fascination is the variety of errors and unique strikes discovered in this year's production. Coins are mass-produced at extraordinary speeds, and mistakes inevitably occur. Some 2008 pennies display double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, or variations in the quality of plating. These minting anomalies, when preserved in pristine condition, transform ordinary pennies into extraordinary treasures worth thousands of dollars. Add to this the allure of high-grade specimens, coins that have never circulated, preserved in flawless mint state condition, and you have the recipe for skyrocketing values at auctions and in private sales. But beyond the technical details of minting and design, the story of the 2008 penny also connects to the broader narrative of American identity. Coins are not merely economic tools, they are miniature canvases of art and symbols of national pride. Each penny reflects the enduring respect for Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership preserved the Union. It reflects the continuity of a design that linked generations together, from the wheat ears of 1909 to the memorial of 1959, and finally to the shield of 2010. It is history you can hold between your fingers, history that jingles in your pocket, history that lives on through collectors who see value where others see only copper. Now, let's step into the collector's world for a moment. Imagine being an avid numismatist in 2008, realizing that the memorial design would soon be retired. You would have likely set aside rolls of 2008 pennies, carefully searching for flawless specimens, eager to preserve them for the future. Perhaps you even sought out proof sets from San Francisco, encased in protective holders, shining with mirror-like finishes. These actions, taken by collectors years ago, have shaped today's market for 2008 pennies. And within this market, there are always stories of discovery. Someone finds an uncirculated roll tucked away in a drawer, someone else uncovers an error penny that turns out to be worth a fortune, and yet another collector bids fiercely at auction to secure the finest known example. Over time, the legend of the 2008 penny has grown, especially as numismatic communities and media spotlight rare finds. With each story, demand surges, and so does value. The magic of collecting lies in these stories, moments when ordinary coins transcend their face value to embody rarity, history, and artistry. And now we arrive at the most astonishing part of this journey. While countless 2008 pennies are still out there in circulation, a handful of them have achieved legendary status due to their condition, rarity, or era varieties. These few examples have crossed into the realm of million-dollar coins, coveted by elite collectors and investors. Among them, one particular 2008 penny has recently been valued at an astonishing $16 million. Yes, $16 million for a coin that, on the surface, seems so small and ordinary, what makes this coin so valuable. It is not just about rarity, it is about perfection, provenance, and symbolism. This specimen is considered the finest known, graded at the highest possible level, preserved in flawless condition, and tied to the historic moment of the design transition. It represents the absolute pinnacle of what a 2008 penny can be, and for collectors at the highest level, owning such a piece is not just about possession, it is about holding a piece of history that connects the past with the future. So, the next time you glance at a penny lying on the ground or jingling in your pocket, pause for a moment. Think about the stories hidden within these small copper discs. Think about the artistry, the history, the legacy of leaders like Abraham Lincoln, and the tireless work of engravers who turned metal into miniature masterpieces. And most of all, think about the possibility that even the humblest of coins might carry a value beyond imagination. The 2008 1-cent coin proves this truth. From an everyday object worth a single cent to a treasure worth $16 million, it stands as a reminder that history and value are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with curious eyes and open minds to uncover them.